In fact, if there's a hero in your book, and that may not be exactly the right word, but certainly the Ayatollah Ali al-Sistani in Iraq, who we read about in the papers today since the war in Iraq, he emerges as the alternative to Khomeini. He has a much more moderate, restrained view of what a religious leadership should do in a political situation. I'll read from your book. Sistani sees the ulama, the religious clerics, mainly as teachers and defenders of the faith, roles that are filled not by an Islamic government, but by protecting and promoting Shia piety under whatever government Shias may happen to have. So in all of the turmoil and all of the political development in post-Saddam Iraq, you have Sistani consistently putting forward an idea that politics is legitimate, we have to defend the gains politically that Shia have made, but in fact, Ayatollah Sistani, nor any other Ayatollah, should be ruling this country. There should be a political process separate from the process of jurisprudence and religious determination.
Absolutely. I mean, there are two key things to what Sistani is saying. One is the one you mentioned, that he, like Shiite clerics for centuries before Khomeini, holds to the fact that in the absence of the hidden imam, there is no legitimate Islamic government. And you can choose which of the various governments is better than the other, but none are actually perfect. And he never subscribed to the Khomeini's theory of justifying clerical rule. And Sistani was the student of another grand Ayatollah who was a contemporary of Khomeini, who fiercely disagreed with Khomeini on this issue. The second argument that Sistani and his mentor and many grand Ayatollahs before Khomeini made is that they don't presume to know what is Islamic government or absolutely perfect Islamic rule. What they know is what is un-Islamic. So Ayatollah Sistani was willing to accept an Iraqi constitution, but he reserved the right to reject what to him was blatantly un-Islamic. Now this argument was modeled after the Iranian constitution of 1906, which a number of senior clerics supported during the first pro-democracy movement in the Muslim world in 1905-06 to give Iran constitution. There they accepted representative government, elections, parliament, parties. They insisted that no laws could be passed that are abhorrent to Islam, and that the clerics should have the right to review all legislation to make sure that it's Islamic. Now we can say that's not democracy, but and that there's valid reservation there. But what's the important point is that they never came forward saying we have a blueprint. We know exactly what the government ought to be. They rather said that we don't know what the perfect government is, we just know what is un-Islamic.
You make the further argument that because of these events, the Iranian Revolution and now the emergence of a Shia majority in Iraq, that there is a kind of revival or awakening among the Shia communities across this range of the Middle East and Central Asia that you spoke of at the beginning. That in fact, this awareness in each of these communities reinforces itself across the communities. How do you read the tensions between these different models, the different aspirations that they express, and this also broad desire of Shias to maintain their stronger political presence than they've had previously?
The most important impact of Iraq was to open this question. And first of all, I think showed a lot of Shias, especially in the early period of 2003, 2004, that change is possible. That a balance of power within societies maintained for several centuries was reversed. And there was a lot of symbolism associated with Iraq. After all, Iraq was where the Shiites lost the historic battle. It is in Baghdad where the caliphs who resided, who persecuted and killed so many of the imams. That's why they're all buried in and around Iraq. So this was enormously uplifting to them. And it created a sense of expectation that in Bahrain, in Pakistan, in Saudi Arabia, in Lebanon, that Iraq will mean more similar circumstances happening. Iraq also strengthened Iran's hand. because the destruction of the Iraqi army, the collapse of Iraq, made a bigger regional player of Iran, and many Shias also saw this as a positive force for them. Things probably changed in 2005, 2006 when the Shiites encountered massive resistance in the form of sectarian violence, in the form of declarations by various Arab leaders warning of a Shia crescent, accusing Shias of being the cat paw of Iran. Even Iran faced very stiff resistance to its role in Iraq from all of its neighbors. And you ended up, if you would, in a kind of war of attrition that played itself very violently inside Iraq, but in the rest of the region was much more rhetorical. So you would go on pro-Al-Qaeda websites, and there was much more anti-Iranian, anti-Shia rhetoric than there was maybe anti-Israeli rhetoric. Even very recently, during past year, the number 2 man in Al-Qaeda, Ayman al-Zawahiri, made a declaration against Shiism in Iran and said that he would like to see both destroyed. Just last month, the very prominent Sunni cleric who's very famous on Al Jazeera, Yusuf Qaradawi, referred to a Shia invasion of Sunni countries and forcible conversion of Sunnis to Shiism. So this is still very much there, which reflects a sense of anxiety among the Sunnis about a Shia surge, and a sense of expectations among the Shia.